Caitlin Clark's debut in the European League felt like the sports world held its breath. After months of anticipation, Clark was finally taking her next steps in professional basketball, and fans in the United States had their eyes glued to the screens to witness it. This wasn't just another game. It was the entrance of a player known for changing the tempo and temperature of the game whenever she stepped on the court. While WNBA fans had already been wowed by Clark's presence, many still had doubts about how her aggressive boundary-pushing style would translate against international talent in the European League. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. The first game wasn't just a test for Caitlin, but a spectacle, a collision of hype and reality. European basketball, known for its disciplined structure and tactical play, was about to meet an American player who didn't quite fit the traditional mold. Clark isn't just another shooter. She's a player who makes opponents question the choices they made in their lives to get on the court with her. As she walked onto the hardwood, it wasn't just a player debuting in a league. It felt more like a storm rolling in, with fans sitting on the edge of their seats to see what would happen next. The crowd's energy was almost tangible when Clark first touched the ball. She didn't ease into the game like most would on such an occasion. Instead, she did what she does best. Went for a three-pointer from a distance that made fans squint just to see the basket. The ball swished through cleanly, and a murmur of shock rippled through the arena. You could almost see a look of "here we go again" on the opposing team's faces. It wasn't just the points that mattered. It was the way she set the tone. Caitlin didn't come to adapt, she came to disrupt. Throughout the game, Clark's offensive moves resembled a cat toying with a mouse. Her ball handling left defenders feeling like they were chasing shadows, and her court vision seemed to bend time itself. She would look one way, pass another, and score in a blink. At one point, Clark made a behind-the-back pass while facing three defenders, causing the audience to collectively gasp before breaking into cheers. Fans back in the States could only react with a mixture of excitement and disbelief, as clips of her highlights immediately started flooding social media. However, it wasn't just her flash that left an impression on fans and analysts alike. The young star demonstrated maturity by balancing her audacity with smart decisions and calculated risk-taking. While her moves were bold, they never felt reckless, which kept defenders and fans alike in a constant state of anticipation. Every dribble seemed to ask a question to the defense, and each time, the defenders answered wrong. It's not easy to outsmart a strategy-heavy league like the European League, but Clark's play defied expectations by staying one step ahead. By halftime, it was clear that Caitlin Clark wasn't just holding her own. She was dominating. Her team fed off her confidence, and as her stats climbed, so did her grin. Not a cocky smirk, but a knowing smile, the kind that said, "I've been telling you this was coming." For a player new to this league, such a performance would typically be a pleasant surprise. For Caitlin, it was business as usual. Post-game, Clark walked into the press conference wearing her signature casual confidence, holding onto a water bottle like it was a trophy. Even though she'd made a splash, her approach to the interview felt almost nonchalant. As she settled into her seat, the questions came rapid fire. Reporters wanted to know if this was what she expected, whether she felt the pressure. Clark, in true fashion, answered in a straightforward way that made it clear she wasn't just handling the court pressure. She was thriving in it. At one point during the interview, when asked about the transition from college to international play, Clark shrugged casually and quipped, "It's still just basketball. The hoops aren't any higher." The room chuckled, and it was a small moment, but it encapsulated Clark's approach to the game. She wasn't here to overcomplicate things or dwell on differences. She was here to win. Fans watching the interview on their screens were amused by her laid-back manner. She wasn't trying to impress anyone with lofty statements. Instead, she let her game do the talking and sprinkled in the kind of humor that revealed she was not only in control, but genuinely having fun. Social media exploded with admiration, and even some of her critics in the States had to admit that she was making them reconsider their initial doubts. Clark had just pulled off what could be considered a masterclass in her first international game, and yet she made it look like just another day at the office. Clark's journey from being an iconic college player to now testing her mettle on an international stage was a story that kept unfolding in ways even seasoned sports writers couldn't entirely predict. The WNBA had prepared fans to see talent on a big stage, but seeing Clark seamlessly take on Europe's best, that was something new. There was this bubbling excitement, a sense of witnessing a player who wasn't just going to adapt but redefine expectations at every level. Back in the United States, the reaction from new NBA fans was strong. Social media lit up like a Christmas tree, with debates raging about what this meant for her potential back home. Some were concerned that her international play would wear her down, while others couldn't contain their excitement at the idea of her bringing these skills back stateside. Fans speculated whether her bold style would continue to evolve, turning into something even more formidable by the time she rejoined her WNBA squad. The implications were huge, as it wasn't just about one game or one league anymore. It was about how Clark was reshaping the landscape of women's basketball wherever she played. Throughout the game and the subsequent interview, Caitlin's influence stretched beyond the stat sheet. She wasn't just playing for her team in Europe or her WNBA fans in the States. She was setting an example for young players everywhere. Clark's willingness to challenge norms and play in a way that reflected her personality was a breath of fresh air. This wasn't just about a player performing well. It was about showing future generations of players that being different isn't a liability, it's an asset. It was hard not to chuckle at how unfazed Clark seemed by the scale of her achievements. Most rookies in an unfamiliar league might struggle to find their rhythm or adapt to the different playing style. But Clark seemed to approach the challenge with the same attitude one might use to pick out a pair of socks in the morning. Unfazed, casual, confident. It wasn't arrogance. It was the sense of self-assurance that comes from countless hours on the court, preparing for whatever came next. For basketball fans, it felt like watching a player in the early days of what could become a defining career. Clark's game wasn't just impressive. It was a sign of more things to come. As fans cheered her on from halfway across the world, the buzz grew. People weren't just talking about her skills. They were talking about the way she carried herself, the way she took risks without seeming reckless, and the way she treated every game as an opportunity to learn, to improve, and, above all, to have fun. After the game, reporters asked her about the physicality and strategy in Europe compared to her college experience. Clark, with a small grin, simply replied, "I guess they're just getting used to me, and I'm getting used to them." It was classic Caitlin, straightforward with a hint of playfulness. She wasn't dismissing the challenges but acknowledging them with a confidence that was as natural as breathing. The beauty of Clark's style is that it's not only entertaining to watch but also infectious to those who play alongside her. Her teammates fed off her energy and followed her lead, not because she demanded it, but because she inspired it. Her post-game interviews were just as much a display of leadership as her on-court play. She shared credit, pointed out the hustle plays made by her teammates, and kept a sense of humor about the more intense moments of the game. Clark was acutely aware that basketball was a team effort, and that charisma and camaraderie spoke louder than her individual stats ever could. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.